Triple E EDC back again with another knife video. So this is the ZT-0640. This is a Emerson designed knife, and you know, you can tell definitely by the thumb studs, or the thumb discs I should say, and you know, Emerson does a great job, and he's sort of a name and tactical to know. But this is, I guess, a tactical designed knife built by ZT, and you can see the ZT logo right there. These are not the original scales on it, and this is not the original color on it. So the original color is going to be sort of a raw titanium color, you know, bead blasted sort of raw titanium color. This is an aftermarket clip, and the scales are aftermarket too. The scales are LMF OD green micarta scales. The anodization was done by USA made blade, and the clip is a Lynch clip. The clip is a Lynch clip. In any event, this is a this is actually on washers. Sorry, actually, before I get into that, let's go ahead and do some size comparisons. So this is the Spyderco Paramilitary 2 and the Para 3. Here is the Spyderco Shaman. Oops, scratching up my leather there. The Emerson A100, which I think is an important comparison. The Buck 110 and the Buck 112. So you can get a good idea for the fact that this is a full-size knife, and just is is going to be pretty EDC friendly in that regard. But be aware, be aware of your local laws and things like that. This is on washers, as I said. The washers are extremely smooth. It is not drop shut because it is on washers, but it is extremely smooth, as I said. The detent on this is really good, so you're going to be able to get that out. You can front flip this, although you do need some dexterity because there is no jimping on the tab. It is not designed to front flip, but you can definitely do it. So that's great as well. Also, Spidey flicking is fine on this. This makes it a very, very fidget friendly knife, and it's great in that regard. So the next thing is that USA made blade. Now I'm a DLT affiliate. I'm not affiliated with USA made blade in any way. If you want to use the DLT links because you want the regular version, go ahead and check below. It definitely will help out the channel, and I also may provide some Amazon links in the event that they're out of stock. However, the USA made blade versions, they sell the regular version, and they also sell versions that come with these LMF scales at a really reduced price, meaning that you're not paying a ton of money for aftermarket scales. They do in-house anodizing on ZT products, including the ZT-0640. Just a really, really beautiful job on that by Scott Whittington and USA made blade. I really, I will always tell you guys when I believe that there's a better place to buy any particular knife than DLT. I think DLT is the best place to buy this knife, but in general, I think I will say that DLT is the best place to buy in general for this particular knife and for a lot of ZTs. If you like anodization, if you like designs on the knives that are not stock, I would definitely recommend that you check out usamadblade.com. I've got a low battery notification, so I'm just going to address that real quick and then put the camera back. I am in the back of my car today, actually, if you guys could see. Normally I'm not, but that's what I'm doing. In any event, next up is a thumb disc. Thumb disc is a great opening mechanism for this knife. Not my favorite for most knives. It does get in the way of the cutting path, but meaning in general it's in the way of the cutting path. But it's as far back as you can get from the cutting path, and I have not had any problems with it. I know Nick Shabazz would say, that it's not ideal to have thumb studs or thumb disc in the cutting path. I have never had a problem with it. I don't think you will either, but it's just something to be aware of. Next thing on this, the jimping on this is really good. Ergonomics are fairly good on this. I would say, you're looking at a 7.5 out of 10, which I think is fairly good for ergonomics, possibly an 8 out of 10. The main thing that's holding it back ergonomically is the Lynch clip doesn't fit it exactly, as far as, and I'm size large gloved hand. The Lynch clip doesn't fit it exactly as far as not being a hot spot at all. And the original clip, I think, is pretty bad in general and is borderline unusable, which we'll get to in a second. So so there's that. All right, the blade on this is, I believe, 20 CV. Let's go ahead and double check that. Yes, so 20 CV. 20 CV is going to be one of the best everyday carry steels that you can possibly get. So that is definitely good to go. Just a great balance of the different properties of steel. So that's awesome. The blade shape is really, really useful. You know, as a blade shape, it's a good, a good shape for EDC, but the grind is a little bit low, which we'll get to in a second. So that's all the good. Let's talk about the bad. So the bad is, and this isn't necessarily the worst thing, but the price is about almost $270, right? And you know, that's a little bit of price creep by ZT. I think these used to be much cheaper. The secondary prices on these tend to be pretty decent. So keep an eye out on the secondary, but if you want like a USA-made blade version, those are a little bit fewer and farther in between, and you may want to just pick up a new one from USA-made blade. So the next thing is that this is short in the grind, and what I mean by that is there's not a whole lot of spot for the grind to go down to the secondary bevel, and as a result of that, it's a little bit thick behind the edge. So even though the blade shape is really good, it's not the best slicer in the world, and that is what it is, and the factory grinds from ZT are just okay. The billboarding on ZTs kind of suck. It's the same as Kershaw's. You have that ZT. I don't like the logo, ZT's logo. I think it looks tacky. And definitely the Kai USA stuff that you see on these are pretty tacky. So not really a huge fan of those, and that is what it is. So that's that. The black hardware on here is stock. I'm not a fan of the black on raw titanium. ZT loves to do that. I don't necessarily love that, or black against bead blasted. I frankly think it should be stainless. And the original scales are ugly as sin. They're like a checkerboard with puke green, you know, and black. It's basically carbon fiber with instead of black and white on like a white carbon fiber, it'd be like black and puke green. They use an awful green resin compound in it, I think. But I think that's what causes the color. But it's pretty awful. Next up is the clip. The original clip, it does need an aftermarket clip. The original clip is the same clip I think is on the ZT-0920, which actually worked totally fine on that knife. But on this knife, the clearance, you know, for your pocket is so low that you cannot get this in and out of your pocket, you know, easily with the original clip. And if you bend the clip, it still doesn't. It's not really, you know, conducive to what you would want. It doesn't accommodate larger pockets. I would definitely recommend getting an aftermarket clip, and Lynch does a great job with aftermarket clips. So that's what I would recommend if you guys are going to go ahead and get this one. All right, final conclusions. And I'll actually, before I get to the final conclusions, I'll talk a little bit about one of the things to notice on here is despite the fact that this is an Emerson design, this does not have a chisel grind. It has a secondary bevel on both sides, which is not what Emerson does. Emerson usually does these chisel grinds where one side is going to be just a primary bevel and the other side is going to be a primary and a secondary bevel. But on the ZT, they do a regular, you know, flat grind on both sides, like a saber flat grind. The Emerson, so I will say the ZT 640 over the A100 has the better ergonomics. It really does. Also, you know, you end up getting lock stick on Emersons. It's just a part of owning Emersons. The lock bar insert on here is excellent. You don't really have an issue with that lock bar insert, so you know you're not going to get lock stick or anything on the ZT. Their quality control is usually pretty good, and so there's that. This is chunkier and everything, and these are not the original scales on this one. It comes with really rough G10 scales, but I will say that I kind of like cutting with this one better, and so this is staying in my collection, and this one is getting sold. So just kind of an interesting comparison here for you guys to see. Final conclusions. Can I recommend this knife? Yes, but with these modifications, right? You need new scales. You need a new clip. The clip is going to cost you extra, and so I can recommend it. Are there other things that I'd buy in this price range? 100%. I would definitely recommend several knives in this price range over this one. You know, I would definitely recommend the ZT if you like ZT, the ZT 0562 tie, which is a Endura design, over this one. It just has a lot more going for it stock than this one does. Although that one's $300, this is $270, but I think if you're in that price range, another $30 isn't going to be much of an issue. Also, you have the Benchmade 940, which is sort of a slim design, just like this one. Just be aware, by the way, that this is, because of the liners and everything, this does end up being a little bit thick. So here's a paramilitary 2. So it looks a lot thinner than it is. It's actually thicker, or Para 3, I'm sorry. It's actually thicker than the Para 3. And so as a result, it's a little bit surprisingly thick in the pocket, which is another reason why you might want to get like, you know, the Benchmade 940 or an upgraded version of the 940, or possibly, you know, a paramilitary 2 with upgraded scales in an upgraded version. You could do all of that, and possibly even get the Lynch clip as well, for around the same price as what you're going to pay for this, especially once you pay for the aftermarket clip. So, you know, those are some general recommendations there. There's also, you know, several other knives. It's a really competitive price range that this happens to be in, but those are just some general recommendations. So do I recommend the knife? The answer is yes, but there's a lot of knives I'd buy before it. So that's sort of where I stand on it. If you guys have any comments you guys want to add into the about this knife, or have any different thoughts, go ahead and drop them below. I will always love having the conversations with you guys, and go ahead and hit that subscribe button, hit the notification bell. Thank you guys for watching.